This is a story that most people will not get, so this is a good
Sweet.
one. My grandfather was in the Hungarian military, and he was like in 1956, which is when my dad was like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
There was like a Hungarian revolution, and communism was like, you know, in control of the area. And the comments was like, this sounds like some Skrillex shit or something. And I was like, what's that? And I went and looked at it. And it was like the Skrillex remix of My Name is Skrillex.
Yeah.
And it was like, right, he had just put out the My Name is Skrillex EP. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is insane. I did finance because, like, I feel like math was one of my easier subjects. I always did Nightmare.
Yeah.
The only thing with T-Mare in it. It just like made sense. And like I had so many people, like friends and things like that, like, you should be Nightmare. Like,
oh, really?
If you ever Googled T-Mare, like most of the things that would come up were like Nightmare.
Hello, this is Laura and Engel of Sidewalk Talk. I'm here with Nightmare.
Hi, what's up? How are you guys?
Super requested.
Really?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Constantly in the comments and people like DMing me like, when is it? I'm like, okay.
Amazing. Well, thank you for having me.
So you were born in Stamford, Connecticut, right?
Yeah, I was born there. I only lived in Stamford for like 4 or 5 years.
Oh.
And then, I moved to North Carolina when I was like really young, so I was pretty much raised in North Carolina, yeah.
Were your parents from Connecticut or where are they from?
My dad is actually from Budapest, from Hungary.
Oh, wow.
So he was born there, same kind of thing. He was there for like 5-6 years, and then he moved to the United States. And
yeah, for his job?
My mom is, no, actually, my grandfather, this is a story that most people will not get, so this is a good one.
Sweet.
My grandfather was in the Hungarian military, and he was like in 1956, which is when my dad was like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah. There
was like a Hungarian revolution, and communism was like, you know, in control of the area. My dad was there, he was 6 years old. To keep my family safe, my grandfather took my dad and his whole family to the United States in order to try to like keep them safe, basically.
Yeah.
And so they made it here. They went to like a military refugee camp, you know, they immigrated and everything.
Yeah.
And then as a result, like, you know, my grandfather was in the military. He went back to Hungary, actually. And, you know, he kind of, I guess when they got here, kind of like made a deal that was like, okay, we'll give your family a place to stay and we can keep them here in this military kind of like refugee camp. If you like help us out and go back, and like, you know, he was like literally a spy for the military. So like, you have to go back to Hungary, do these few things for us, like, and then we'll keep your family, like, whatever, safe.
Yeah.
And so when he went back, he actually got kidnapped or like caught, and then he was killed. He was like executed, like, and he wrote a last letter to my family and everything.
Gosh.
And so my dad grew up in like New Jersey and Newark, United States. And, And obviously I didn't grow up with a lot, and because you know they didn't have like my grandfather around, and I mean my mom got remarried and everything. My grandmother got remarried, but. So yeah, it was a long. He came over as a result of like basically like war.
Yeah.
You know, and it was cool. I have a special place in my heart for immigrants, obviously, because my family was they were military refugees basically, and came to the United States, and you know, my dad got a loan, went to college, and you know, it's like classic American dream.
Yeah, it is.
So my mom was born and raised in North Carolina, so she was like raised in the South, and that's where we grew up.
Yeah.
You know, we were born up in, they met in Connecticut, so that's kind of why we ended up living there for a little bit, and then, they moved to North Carolina.
Do you still have connection to Hungary, like relatives there that you visit?
Yeah, actually, I'm going back to Hungary. I'm going to Budapest in like 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And I have a show there, and then I'm going back again this summer for like a festival. So.
But do you have connections to like your cousin? I mean, it's kind of like...
Yeah, I have a cousin who lives there. I have one cousin.
I
have some family who lives in like Switzerland and a couple other like spread across Europe a little bit. But yeah, in general, just a few over there. Yeah, my first Budapest show, I had my cousin come, and I met her like one other time, but it was cool. Like, it was crazy.
Wow,
it's cool to be able to meet them and you know, just like chill and have them see this side of, you know, I don't know. I'm sure they never would have imagined like, you know, their American cousin to be like DJ or whatever, and like get a show there in your home country.
That
like, seems kind of crazy.
That's full circle.
So it's cool. I'm excited to go back.
Yeah. What careers are your parents in?
My dad basically, he runs a company that does like construction materials kind of stuff. So like they do a lot of like custom like wood things. It's like mostly wood. So they'll do like, I don't know, like everything from like state park, like like benches and like covers and like bridges and like just everything, you know what I mean? To like airports, you'll see airports with like big ass wooden beams and like, you know, so it's like all kinds of like wood construction, which is like kind of random. He's kind of been like he likes to find small businesses that are like kind of like struggling and just like see if, you know, with good management and like, you know, better budgeting can just turn them around. And that was one that he kind of like found like right when the recession hit and like all these businesses were like suffering a lot.
And your mom?
Yeah. And my mom actually does like she worked for many years. She just retired like 2 weeks ago. Congrats, Mom. Crushing it. Mom and Nightmare just retired, so she's chilling now. But for the last like 10 years, she's worked for a nonprofit who basically would supply or provide like, well, they would supply medicine to and like medical care, like basic medical care to people without health insurance, like in North Carolina.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was cool. She helped them out for a really long time, and it's a super good cause and like nonprofit. And now she's kind of like, you know, worked for many years, and she's gonna take some time for herself to just like chill. And and she wants to start another nonprofit, like kind of her own. So my mom's a good person. She's a legend to say the least. So shout out, Mom. I love you.
What are their personalities like? Who are you more similar to?
Probably more my dad. I don't know. Maybe it's close, but I think probably my dad in the end. We're both very like a little bit introverted and like kind of more relaxed.
How do you describe yourself back then, growing up?
Growing up, I don't know. I was like very outdoorsy kid. Like I would spend a lot of time just like whatever, running around outside playing sports, and I grew up playing a lot of like soccer. I did like a lot of really competitive soccer when I was young too. So like from like middle school and like early high school, I did like, that was like most of what I was doing. Yeah. And then, you know, once I got closer to college, I was like, all right, I don't know, it's too much work. It was like too much running. Like soccer's like, I love it. It's a fun sport, but yeah.
Did you go to like a conservative school?
Yeah, in high school I went to like a Christian school. It was like a private Christian school, so it was cool. I mean, it was, you know, it wasn't like maybe the school I would have picked if I had to choose, but it definitely helped shape who I am and like, you know, the opinions I have now and my beliefs and stuff, and you know, it's cool. I mean, it's, you know, that's what part of growing up is, you know, you don't always do things you love to do, but it's like you learn and, you know, get different experiences from different things. And
is that because of your parents? Are they religious?
Yeah, my mom grew up in the South, and she, you know, she's been a Christian her whole life, and so that was kind of the home that we were raised in. It was like, you know, a lot of good moral values and stuff like that, but, you know, there's definitely, you know, unfortunately, as there is with everything in the world, there's like, you know, a lot of fake people who will get involved with religions to like kind of make money or like whatever, and, you know, there was definitely some like role models at our school who like weren't the best, but you know, and I mean, I think that like I said, there's great people and there's bad people in everything, that like, you know, whatever industry or religion or whatever it is you're gonna work in, like, or believe in or be involved.
And for instruments, the first you played was like piano and drums, right? Yeah,
I grew up, my parents like forced me into piano when I was like 4 or something, and I was just like, this is gonna be horrible, and like I remember being so mad that they put me in, and then after the first lesson I like had so much fun, and I was like being really quiet because I didn't want my mom to know that I actually liked it. I was like,
hate to admit it.
Oh, yeah, it was pretty cool, I guess. And then it was like, actually that was sick, I should go back.
So, I love that.
Yeah, it was
oh
fun.
My gosh.
And then in high school I like kind of just picked up drums, just I don't know, just intrigued me a lot, and I would just rock out to like drums. I took lessons too, but piano I took a lot more like formal training, and drums I would kind of just like play them, like, you know, whatever. I would just like play along to the songs that I liked. Whatever.
Were you in some bands?
No, I never really played any bands, but I don't know. Yeah, I was more just an at-home music guy.
Yeah. Who showed you, like, you listen to a lot of like Led Zeppelin, right? Do you remember who showed you that?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely all anything like that was all my dad for sure.
Oh,
like
wow.
he like I grew up listening to like Pat Benatar on the way to school, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like random, like, and like Cream and like The Doors and like all that kind of stuff. And then once I got a little older, I started listening to like,
A girl talk?
yeah, like Red Hot Chili Peppers and like Arctic Monkeys and like just, I mean, all random stuff in high school.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, once I found Girl Talk, I was like, whoa, this is like insane. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe someone's doing this with like, cause you know, it was a lot of like rock songs. He would mix like rock songs with like a cool hip hop song, or like there would be some cheesy pop song that I thought I hated, but like when it's like behind some other thing, you're like, oh, this is actually sick.
Yeah.
And so it was cool. That definitely inspired me a lot to like kind of start making my own music. And you know, once I figured out you could do everything on a laptop, I was like, okay, what am I doing? I should just start writing.
Yeah. The early songs that you found yourself, how did you find it? Was like MySpace or like?
I feel like I did a lot of like YouTube, like real early YouTube days, and like UKF was like the only like dubstep channel, and like
Right, yeah.
I guess, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, probably, I mean, for the first electronic music, I feel like most of it I was found on YouTube, and like, yeah, I definitely remember looking up, like, it was kind of just when like Skrillex first came out with his music. I remember finding Pendulum, like, and then the same day finding Skrillex, because like Pendulum had like the Island Part 2, or like that whole Island song had just come out, and I was like, this is amazing. And then someone in the comments was like, this sounds like some Skrillex shit or something, and I was like, what's that? And I went and looked at it, and it was like the Skrillex remix of My Name is Skrillex.
Yeah.
And it was like right as he had just put out the My Name is Skrillex EP, and I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, I was just like hooked forever.
Yeah.
Just always, I went and found like Flux Pavilion and like Porter and Zed, and when they were doing like all electro house, I was like Lazy Rich, like all the electro house days with like them, and that's kind of what got me first into like actually making my own stuff. So
and then after high school you went to Elon University, right? Like finance and accounting.
Yeah, so I mean that was, you know, like I said, life's about experiences and like learning, and you know, I knew that if I went through business school, like I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. Like I loved music, but I had no clue that I would be able to make a career out of it. Especially at the time, like, you know, there weren't that many people who were doing well. Like, without like people like Skrillex, like there's no way I would have this career, you know.
Yeah. Was it kind of like your parents that wanted you to get a degree, or like were you curious to just get a degree yourself? Yeah, I mean, I think, when I finished high school, you know, I was like, I'm going to do business because I like doing business. And I, you know, when, you know, I did finance because like, I feel like math was one of my easier subjects. I always did well in it, and it was like, you know, finance. Was that one of your like favorite subjects in high school, or like what else? Yeah, I mean, I just, you know, I did better in math and like numbers oriented things than like whatever, like a literature course or something like that. So that was kind of just like why I gravitated towards that. And I knew like business school in general was just like, you know, you could go any direction, and like I felt like I was going to be involved with business some way. So. Did you actually like finance back then? Like, were the courses?
I mean, I wasn't like passionate about finance, like, you know what I mean. But like, it wasn't like, it was cool. I never found myself like, oh, fucking hate this. Like, you know, so many people just like hate school. Yeah. It's just like, you know, it was interesting to me, especially like investing and like learning just money management and stuff like that. It was like, I don't know, it was interesting for me. So, you know, I was still doing music basically the whole time, like just. Whenever I was done not doing school, I was like either at home working or like, I don't know. I mean, it was just, you know, it was like my video games. It was like, I just didn't, you know, I don't think about it when I'm working on music. It's just like something I like to do in my free time, you know. Yeah, so. And then you studied abroad in like Florence or something, right? And did like Italian like art history. Yeah, that was actually where the first kind of like, as soon as I bought Ableton, it was like that summer. And then the next semester I was like going abroad. So I like got a new computer, my first computer, the one that I still like it's still in my room. I use it for like my DJ computer, but it's just, I made everything on it. And I got Ableton Live, which is like the software that I use. And I tried to spend as many hours as I could out in Italy because I was like, I'm in this beautiful, amazing country. But I remember just like working on so much music, and that was like the first place where I made a song that like, I sent it to some label, and like a really small label in the UK, and they like signed it, and I was just like, I have a song coming out, it's amazing. It was like, so I had a lot of good memories there, and obviously a lot of good food, and it was like, you know, it's such a beautiful country, so it was a good time. You know, it was kind of nice having a break to not study like finance stuff and just do whatever, you know, whatever, learn about the culture and like the area, and like, you know. that good stuff. So.
Was TMRE your first moniker?
So TMRE was like when I played soccer. You know, I was saying I played a bunch of soccer growing up. Like TMRE was just a nickname that like kind of everyone just like started getting nicknames, and I just that was what everyone called me on the soccer team. And you know, just Tyler Moreni, TMRE.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, I don't even remember who thought of it. Someone thought of it, and so I just got used to that. And so when I started making music, I was like, all right, well, people call me TMRE, I might as well be TMRE.
Yeah.
But you know, obviously, it's kind of a random name. It does like, you know, it's just a nickname. So once I got to the point where I was like, okay, my music sounds like great. Like I'm really happy with where it's at. That's when I was like,
yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
The only thing with TMRE in it. It just like made sense. And like I had so many people like friends and things like that be like, you should be Nightmare. Like if you ever Googled TMRE, like most of the things that would come up were like Nightmare because it's just in there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I would like do that or some like, you know, whatever, like somehow like be typing in TMRE and Nightmare would show up. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And
how many years after TMRE did you come up with Nightmare?
I think I had or at least a SoundCloud or whatever where I would put music up as TMRE for like maybe like 4 years or 3 years.
Oh wow.
Like basically all of college. You know? It was kind of like, all right, I'm just gonna start uploading stuff, and it wasn't probably like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then that's when I was like, right, gotta start fresh.
And in college, were you like DJing shows or like what? Did the people know you as like a producer during that time?
Kind of. Like I went to such a small school that because I was like literally the only person who did it.
Yeah.
So I didn't really DJ much. I just did like maybe like 2 or 3 shows a year. I would just like play at some whatever, and like people would kind of know that it was going to be like dance music or whatever, EDM kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was always fun, and you know, it was like all my friends. It was like 2 bars in the whole city, so it's like I was either at this bar or this bar, and like my friends would all be there anyway, and like, you know, it was always fun. So.
And then,
but it definitely wasn't like DJing all the time by any means.
Yeah. And then you put out like the song with that record label. How were you even able to like figure that stuff out? You didn't really have people around you who were like producing, right? Yeah,
not really. I mean, I most of up until that point, it was all just YouTube learning. Like, I remember like, I don't know if you know Lucky Date, but like he's like a house student. He had so many tutorials on like Reason, which was the first project, software that I used. So Reason is like the first one I used. It's actually a lot more like difficult, and it's like there's no like, you can't put in just like audio clips. Everything has to be controlled through like MIDI, and so there's a lot more like I had to learn to sequence, and I had to learn to do sound design. I had to like kind of learn all that stuff first before I really like got good at mixing and like making things sound really clean, you know. I would follow like Beatport charts and stuff like that. Look up the labels, and then go to their website. Figured
it out, like how to like you had to send in labels.
I would just I mean, you know, labels have promo emails, and they have A&Rs who their job is to look for new songs. So, you know, once I had a finished song, I sent it to like maybe 10 different ones, and the first ones they're like, oh, you know, we like your idea, but it's not that cool. Sorry, we'll do it next time, or like, you know, keep sending us music or whatever, and you know, just kind of build that relationship. And then eventually there was one that they were like, oh, this is cool, we'd like to put this out, and it was like, you know. So I kind of knew, especially watching people like Zed and Porter like go from zero to just like touring in one song, you know. Like Porter had like Say My Name, and it was like huge, and like every DJ played it, and then he was touring with Tiesto like immediately. I was like, okay, I just need to make a sick song. Like I'm alright. What I like to do is make music anyway. Like I don't need to focus on like doing the DJ hustle and like being the sickest DJ. I just want to be like a producer and like make hits. So that was kind of like, you know, that's why I sat down and focused and did music 100% of the time. And then, you know, once I had songs that everybody wanted to hear, it's like much easier to get shows.
Yeah.
And, you know, things like that. So.
Where was your career at the point that when you graduated?
When I graduated college, it was still doing TMRE stuff. I had, you know, that one label release, but I mean, I definitely didn't have much success, but I mean, locally, I guess I did, but it was such a small, like, place that it wasn't, you know.
Yeah.
Wasn't, like, a huge thing, but, making the decision to, like, move to LA and come to school here was, like, definitely, like, you know, the game changer for sure.
Yeah.
Just, like, being out here and you know, everything's here with dance music especially, so it's just, like, you get the opportunities to meet the right people. And, you know, I went to music production school, and, like, you know, my first job was doing engineering, so I was, like, still doing music and, like, you know, kind of staying involved with the industry, you know. So, you know, I don't know. But you can't do that in many other cities, you know. It's, like, hard to find an engineering job right out of college, like, doing music engineering, like, in any other, like, maybe, you know, Nashville or New York, but even there, it's going to be a lot of different types of music. So.
Yeah. Were your parents always supportive of you doing music?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my parents are super chill and awesome and understanding in general, so they were just pretty happy that I was, like, doing what I like to do. Yeah. That's, like, mostly what they're concerned with. I mean, obviously I had, you know, I was here for 4 years without doing anything, you know, remotely, like, making any money, so I definitely had some conversations with my mom. Was like, so, like, what are you gonna do for money, like, once you run out of money, you know?
Oh, like, after your engineering job, or, like?
Yeah, just, like, in general, like, it's like, okay, are you gonna, like, you know, I mean, I was working, and, like, the engineering job was, like, basically paying my rent plus a little bit more. Yeah. It wasn't, like, you know, every day, like, all the time thing, so it was, like, you know, obviously, you know, your parents want you to be successful, but they also want you to do it. Yeah. They just didn't want me to be, like, sad musician for the rest of my life, you know. But that's what music's about. It's like when you go to Icon, they're like, okay, like, if you know, are you here to do music for the rest of your life, or are you here because you want to be a DJ or you want to be famous? It's like, you know, like the Swedish House Mafia, that was, like, the example they would always use. Like, they were in music for, like, almost 15 years before they had a hit. Yeah. Like, if you're in this shit for 15 years and you're making music and you still have not, like, no success, like, are you going to just go do something else, or are you going to make music because you love it? And
looking back, like, do you think Icon really helped a lot? I mean, I just, honestly, all I hear is, like, such positive things.
Yeah.
From,
I mean,
like, Slander.
It's tough. It's like, I mean, it's tough to say something bad about it, because it's like, you know, I mean, it's an investment in like, you kind of get out of it whatever you put into it. Like, you know, there's plenty of people who have been there and, you know, gotten pretty much nothing out of it, but I guarantee you it's because they missed some classes and didn't really care about doing the homework and stuff. It's like, if you're there and you're passionate and, like, you want to get as much out of it as you can, like, you can be there every day sitting in the lobby and there's 10 other artists coming through, you know, tons of people. Like, you can network and talk to people and get feedback, and just, like, it's just an environment for being creative, and it's, like, very conducive to, like, that, you know, and everybody's kind of doing that too, so it's, like, it's just very positive, and, you know, it's grown a lot. So you know, I've gotten a little bit out of touch with like, you know, everything that's going on there, but when I was there, it was, like, you know, very close, tight-knit group of people. Like, you don't have a bunch of classes with a bunch of people. Like, you and this group of people should do every class together. So, like, you get really close to everyone.
Was Skrillex playing your song? Was this back in 2015 at Ultra or something?
Yeah, I think it's 15 or... Yeah, this was definitely, like, I feel like people, like, even know as, like, because that's when Street basically was released to the world. And, like, it was kind of like the song, I guess, it was at Ultra when he basically played a whole set, and there was only one song that people didn't really know what the song was, I think, and it was that song. It definitely would have not expected it to do as well as it did. Yeah. But, you know, obviously I'm very grateful for everyone who's made it, like, you know, supported it and, like, made it into what it was. It was, like, really awesome. So. Yeah.
After that song, what happened?
I mean, you know,
did you already
maybe
have a team
a year
by that
and a half. Or? Yeah, exactly. I had met with people, a management team in LA, and been like, you know, here's 20 songs that I have that I'm finished, 5 remixes, like, all this stuff that's ready to go. Like, I really want to start this new brand and do this. And they're like, we're in, like, let's do it. So we spent, like, a year probably releasing remixes and all that kind of stuff, marketed and, you know, send it out to everyone we knew, all the DJs and everything, and just try to get the name out there and all that good stuff. And I, you know, had a little bit of traction, like, was doing all right. There was, like, a few DJs supporting my stuff, but it wasn't, like, enough to be touring, like, in any way, really. And, you know, I even remember having conversations with, like, my management after, like, a year, and it's like, oh, well, we can't, like, you know, we were hoping to be able to tour by this, but, like, you got to kind of just, like, wait it out and keep releasing music. And it was, like, we kind of had this strategy of, like, we're not going to accept any supporting shows, like, ever, basically. We want to wait until, like, I could go to anywhere in the U.S. and, like, play a show, even if it's 200 people.
Yeah.
And it would be, you know, my own show, and I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to come to the show because, you know, they want to see me, not because I'm on a support show with someone. And, like, you know, there was obviously still instances where we supported tons of people coming up. Because, like, you know, there's plenty of good opportunities in that, too. But you also just, you know, we were like, we don't want to establish ourselves as, like, a support person. Like, we want to be, like, the headliner when we go to these small cities and stuff like that. So we waited, and then, you know, everything worked out. Street popped off, and then it was, like, I had my first huge LA show. They got me on EDC right away. Like, we had Matt Decent was like, hey, we're happy to put out your new EP. So, like, put out that. I had, like, Dillon. I had just met Dillon. We put out our song. We put out the Foster Damas collab. I did, like, my Dum Dee Dum remix, which was, like, my biggest one. And it was just all in, like, 6 months. And then it was just, like, from then on, it was just, like, I've been touring every week since then. So,
yeah.
You know, it's been, like, 2.5 years. And, like, literally, I've probably had, like, 5 weekends off or something. So.
Yeah. And then how were you able to quit? I mean, when you quit your engineering job, where was your career at that point? Were you already, like, touring the
I mean, even once I started touring slowly, I was still doing that. So
it's kind of just, like, leveled off, kind of.
Yeah, and I kind of was like, hey, like, I'm going to be starting touring pretty heavily in this month. Like, I'll work a little bit, but, like, you know, you got to start finding someone else to hire for, like, do this, because I won't be able to after a little while. So.
Yeah.
So it was good. But originally, I mean, for the first 6 months of working for them, it was all unpaid. It was all, like, basically, you're going to work on these songs, we'll work on them together, and if one of them gets picked up or whatever, you know, then you get publishing on the song, and, you know, you get royalties and all that kind of stuff. We're like, whatever, if we sell the song for $20,000, you get, you know, half of it.
Yeah.
So it was, like, you know, obviously incredibly unreliable income source. Yeah. Like, you just, like, hoping for some new songs, especially when you're, like, the assistant and you're, like, helping, you know, write stuff, but it's, like, not really fully under your creative control. So
yeah, it
was, you know, it took a long time, and then it got to the point where I was like, yo, like, I just, you know, I can't do this for free. Like, if you can pay my rent, then I can keep doing it. And so he was, like, paid my rent for maybe, like, a year. Like, it was, like, $750 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, eventually started touring, so I was able to make enough money to not have to do it.
And more recently, you're working more with, like, rappers, right? How
did
that, like, change come about?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do that. Like, I don't know, I just had a little more time to do it maybe. And you know, rappers, like, a lot of time the hip-hop world and the pop world, too, like, everything except for dance music, a lot of times it's like, you know, you got to have some sort of, like, you got to pay people for their time, like, always, you know what I mean, and for their talent and everything like that. So, you know, like, it's and you got to have, like, some sort of reputation, you know, like, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do that PNB Rock, like, Wiz Khalifa song or whatever, if they didn't realize that I had a following, and, you know, that
actually,
doing a song with
come
me,
about?
like, well, I mean, we actually reached out to PNB Rock because we were like, hey, we have some songs we want you to, like, check out, sing on, like, maybe rap, like, if it ends up being a song for me, like, you know, we're happy to, like, pay you guys for a feature or whatever, and, like, you know, if you guys want to buy the song, like, you can buy it from us.
Yeah.
Like, we just want to be creative with you guys. We do think your stuff's dope. Like, let's figure something out, you know?
Yeah.
And so we met up in New York City. Like, I played him a bunch of music. We chilled in the studio. I was like, you know, he liked the song, Talk Too Much beat. He was like, I'm going to write we had, like, kind of a working demo, and, you know, he sang it and wrote a verse, and then a week later hit us up and was like, yo, I got Wiz on this too. And we were just like, okay, sick.
Oh my
good.
gosh.
He's like, we want to put this on the project. So we were like, cool, like, you know, to do that with them. And I've got some new stuff coming up with some more hip hop.
Yeah. Actually,
got a lot of stuff, so.
How did it click to you to veer more in the hip hop rap world? Because I feel like a lot of producers have gone more into, like, pops and having, like, those sort of songs.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the South, like I was saying, and, you know, all the first 2 years of just, like, learning to make beats, I was, like, remaking, like, you know, Lil Wayne or beats or, like, Ludacris beats that I heard that I was, like, you know, just to kind of, like, learn how to, like, how songs were organized and all that kind of stuff. So I grew up listening to tons of, like, dirty South hip hop, which is, like, what trap, like, actually is. You know what I mean? Like, that's where that music came from, like, where it's all influenced from. So, you know, I think that's why I gravitated towards, like, kind of the trap vibe in the beginning, too, is, like, you know, I loved the hip hop vibe with, like, the Skrillex energy, or, like, you know, those kind of, like, things came together and like turned into this like kind of super trap like hip hop stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, I love making hip hop beats in general too. So it's like, it's kind of like a quicker, easier, like fun thing for me to do. So I don't know. It's just like feels natural. I feel like.
Yeah.
You know.
How would you say your music has changed since the early songs you made? I
feel like it's gotten I don't know. It's tough. It's like, I never sit down and think like, all right, I'm going to make this song super heavy, or I'm going to make this song, like, you know, maybe I'll make super heavy drums to make it feel like that. But in the end, like, when I start writing, like, I just kind of go with whatever I feel sounds cool or whatever happens to happen, you know? You know, the other thing I also try to do is put out all different types of stuff. So, like, that's like, you know, the first EP I have is like a chill song and a house song and a trap song and like a banger. And so, you know, I feel like it's changed a little bit in like my habits, but in the end, like, you know, I feel like the general sound is the same, and I kind of do all kinds of stuff anyway. So it's like, it's hard to pick one thing and be like, oh, well, it was this and now it's this, when it's always just been like a bunch of things, you know?
Yeah. What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far?
I think this year especially was the first time in my life that I was like I need to like slow down a little bit. Like, I'm tired. Like, I did like, you know, over 300 shows in like a couple years, a little less than a few years. And every weekend, every night you go somewhere and, you know, everyone's like, sick, your show's tonight. We've been waiting for you to come here. Like, oh yes, you know, and it's awesome. Like, you want to see all these people, and it's like, you know, there's a new promoter to like hang out with, and a new like group of people to do a meet and greet with, and a new interview, and like, it's all things that I love to do. So, but there was like a time where I was just like, okay, I just gotta slow down a little bit. It was like, I love it so much, I want to do it every day, but like, you know, you just don't realize like kind of the toll on like how actually tired you're getting, and like sometimes it was just like affecting my life a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And so I try to take like, I have like a month off in April pretty much to just do nothing, and like I'm just gonna sit at home and work on music, and like, you know, like I feel like I'm fortunate because I'm good at working on music on the road. A lot of people like just, you know, they can't get in the headspace to like write if they're not like in a studio or something.
How would you say you've grown as a person since you were younger?
I mean, I've definitely gotten to the point, like I said, you know, every day I go somewhere and they're like ready to party and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've you know, I have the like responsibility enough to like not party and just like, you know, like do what I need to do, and like, you know, like I don't know, I just feel like I don't feel the need or peer pressure or anything to like, you know, like force myself to go out or party or things like that. I'll just like relax when I need to relax, and like go out and get shit done when I need to get shit done. And you know, before it was definitely, I gotta do this, and it's like, all right, let's just go home, like chill with my family a little bit, like relax, like not worry about like, you know, this as much.
Yeah. What does success look like to you?
I mean, I think if anything, you know, I've learned this year that it's just like maintaining like really happy, healthy relationships with people. Like, that's like, you know, the thing that seems to have brought me the most joy is like, you know, like when I bought a house with my brother, like that was the best thing ever. Like, that was the best day of my life. It was like me and my brother get to live together at the beach, and like he gets to have an awesome place to chill, and like I get to be, you know what I mean? It's like celebrating things with people who you really care about is like, you know, has always been the best thing for me, no matter whatever amount of money you're getting paid for a show or whatever. It's like, if I get to bring my family there and or just my friends or anyone, you know, it's like, that always seems to be the thing in the end where I feel like best about, you know? Yeah,
that kind of leads on to my next question about what does love mean to you?
Same thing. I mean, I think, yeah, it's, you know, a similar answer. I mean, I feel like love is a little bit more of like, you know, it's gonna feel so like it should never feel like it's like work, you know what I mean? I mean, growing up in the South, I couldn't quote a whole Bible verse, but love is patient, love is kind, you know the whole verse. It's like, love is all these things all in one, and you know, but, you know, I definitely think it's like, you know, for me, like, I love music because I have a passion for it, and it's because I can do it every day, and it doesn't feel like I'm working, or it doesn't, you know, I'm gonna love it no matter what.
Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
I feel like being remembered for someone who was like always giving back and always caring and like being there for people is like, obviously I want to be remembered for music too. Like, you know, music is something that lives on forever, and like, you know, there could be, everyone from Earth could move to another planet, and like, you know, someone could still have your MP3 on your, iPod in fucking 2,000 years. So it's like, that's something that's cool because it can live on forever too. But like, in the end, like I said, relationships are what I care about the most. And making sure that people who I have with me on earth who are close to me is like happy is like, something that I think is the most important.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Of course. Thank you guys.